Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host, Elias. I have an exciting newcomer here, and he's going to talk about something that is, I'll say, the largest epidemic in America. Being overweight, obesity, from, well, now I'm not sure. Newborn babies, you get the pass. You be cute and chunky once you're developed, but once you're like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, you have to, your tummy protruding out. Sadly, that's become more common. I've never seen so much obese children in my life. This is only the recent years. When I was a kid, they thought I was malnourished. I was so thin, but but now I'm definitely chunky. I'm definitely overweight, people. I'm just being very transparent here. And he's gonna definitely tackle on the norms of how we think of. I'm sure you heard this before. Exercise, eat well, calories in, calories out. If you eat, less than your burning rate, you gain more weight, something like that. You heard all this stuff before. I'm not going to tackle that normal weight thing. And besides, I've done that in the past. I've rewatched those episodes, and to be honest, they're pretty boring. So that was why I used to play it safe. We're going to challenge it a little bit, shackle the norms, and expand your perspective on this. And I got a guess here. I will not do this by myself, believe me. And trust me, as chunky as I am, you're not going to listen to me anyways. So, well, this fats don't know about freaking health and all that. What the heck is he talking about? All that fat, clogged up his brain cells, the flow, did obstruct that? No. I got enough brain cells left to know that I have an expert here, okay? He's probably a little too humble, just between you and me, And of course, millions of you people that'll be listening, hopefully. Let's welcome Evan Natler, okay? And we're going to challenge the norm of this. And I want to, because look, I'm a curious person by nature. I might have my preconceived opinions. It's okay to have your preconceived biased opinions. But if you hear something that you know is going to improve your life, be open. And if you know it's crap, challenge it and debunk it. Okay, I'm not worried about my listeners. You're smart. You're intelligent. You decide what's best for you. The whole story, Evan's crazy, or we on to something. Yes, I'm just gonna ride the coattails here especially if it's as bad as no, it's all Evan's fault. No, I don't do that.
Yeah,
I deal with the backlash and all that like a man.
Hey man, I'm from New Jersey. I'm tough. I can take whatever anybody throws my way.
All right, Feast and Lines, New York, right here. There you go, neighbors, state neighbors, right there.
I did my first job as a pediatric surgeon was at NYU. And I trained at Cornell. So spent a lot of years in New York City, and that combined with growing up in North Jersey, I can take whatever any listeners or anyone on the hater trail wants to send my way. Come at me.
You heard that, especially the comment section. Do your worst. I'm from New York. I've been called names. I laugh. I enjoy them.
Sure.
But don't catch. If I find out who you are on the streets, I want to make sure you maintain that same toughness, okay? But anyways, let's. So what do you want the viewers and the listeners to know about you before we get into this topic?
About me? All right. Well, so I'm a pediatric surgeon by training, which is, a lot of people often ask me, how did I end up being a childhood obesity expert and now sort of an overall obesity expert? As a pediatric surgeon, because, why? And the reality is I had no idea that this was going to become my passion when I first started it. But after sort of seeing the problem, so I've been doing bariatric surgery on kids for over 20 years, which people are probably shocked to hear because probably most people didn't even know children could get bariatric surgery. But that's enabled me to learn things about this disease that no one else knows or thinks about. And I basically just decided long ago that somebody had to try to help the kids who were suffering from obesity, but also figure out the disease and understand why so many people have obesity. And that's what I've dedicated my academic career to. And then basically quit all that 2 years ago to take it to the people. So YouTube channel, website, trying to write a book, doing podcasts, all that stuff to try to educate direct to the consumer, kind of like your Ozempic ads go directly to the consumer on TV. I'm trying to do direct to the consumer with just facts and science and no bias, nonpartisan, although this is a political podcast by nature. I try to just give you the facts and let you decide what to do with them.
Well, this particular bucket, we could allow the nonpartisan, but I don't have partisan loyalty anyway, so nonpartisan is perfectly allowed. Let's just be clear about that. Look, I have bashed Democrats, I've bashed Republicans, I've bashed Libertarians, and I've praised them while I thought it was right. Well, political loyalty will lower your IQ.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
And there's nothing political about health, or like there shouldn't be. There is, but there shouldn't be, right? Like you don't want, it's kind of like when Justice Roberts was saying there aren't like Republican judges and Democratic judges, although there probably are. But in theory, there shouldn't be Republican doctors and Democratic doctors. You should just go to your doctor or provider and get honest information. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be the voice of reason and not, I call myself a de-influencer sometimes because I'm just out here trying to spew facts and not, I'm not selling you supplements. I'm not even doing bariatric surgery right now, so I'm not trying to pitch you to come get surgery with me. So it's just like, I'm here strictly for educational purposes. And again, you want to hate what I have to say, that's fine, because I'm just telling you what the data show, and there's nothing, I'm just the messenger. So you shoot the messenger, I don't care.
Well, I'm going to say this, and it's going to stir up some controversy. To hell with Dr. Mike, to hell with all these influencers who have pushed their agenda, their products. So I don't mind de-influencers. This podcast is an official ally of de-influencers, of those who are trying to bring voice of reason to these hyper-partisan, hyper-chaotic times. It's needed more than ever. So I'll say it's pretty darn timely if you ask me.
Yeah, it works for me too. So let's have it. Let's get at it.
All right. What's the first question I got here? Okay, let's start with this one. What's wrong with this approach? I talked about it before we recorded. Calories in, calories out. If you burn more than you eat, you lose weight. That's simple, right?
Right.
Or ...
Yeah. So from a purely, physics standpoint, that equation works. But the reality is that human beings are much more complicated. So we know a few things. We know that even with the most intensive diet and exercise programs out there, patients generally lose about 5 to 7% of their body weight. So if you weigh 300 pounds and you lose 5%, that's 15 pounds. You still weigh 285, and you've put in 6 months of busting your tail, and you're going to be frustrated and unhappy and probably get off that treatment regimen and gain your weight back. So that's just, again, a fact. There is no debating that. And the reason it happens is something called metabolic adaptation, which is, you don't need to know the details of, but it's why keeping weight off is so hard, because your body has a weight that it wants you to be at, for right or for wrong. And it's going to try to keep you there. So when you eat less to try to burn some calories, and exercise more to try to lose some weight by burning calories, your body slows down its metabolism so that it makes it harder for you to lose weight. So anyway, the long and the short of it is that diet and exercise is not the answer to most individuals' weight problems, nor is it the answer to society's weight problems. There's not going to be a change in food or food policy that is magically going to cure the obesity epidemic. It is just 100% not going to happen, no matter who tells you otherwise. Don't be gaslighted, I like to say.
Oh, I'm sure the fitness people, the gym rats,
they hate me.
Those folks are just triggered beyond belief. Just don't drop the weights while you're angry, okay? Just be careful with that.
No, and again, things can work for individuals, and I'm not saying people shouldn't do that or try it. But what I'm saying is, go, watch the Netflix documentary on The Biggest Loser and find out, A, what those people were doing behind the scenes to make it look like they could lose weight doing what they were doing, and then B, what's happened to them since. They've all basically regained their weight. A lot of them are sicker than they were when they were on a show. They're like humiliated, and their mental health is all messed up too. It's just like, it just doesn't, again, like everybody should exercise and everybody should eat right, but that's not going to cure obesity. That's going to make you potentially healthier at whatever weight you're at, but you're not going to lose weight, and you're not going to necessarily fix your diabetes or fix your high blood pressure or your high cholesterol, or whatever else goes with your weight. So, again, do it if you can, but just don't expect magic from it.
All right. It's that expectations that get us gaslit right there, especially when they put all that glam, the before after results.
Oh yeah.
It looks magical, glamorous, this fat slob becomes such a nice jack person with, with glow and all that good stuff. But
no, I actually there's a whole food, what's called the food is medicine movement in the United States right now. And, one of the guys who's leading it happens to be some guy I went to college with. And I've talked to him about this, and I sat in on one of his seminars where he rolled out a couple patients who did lose a bunch of weight with changing how they ate. And I told him he was basically gaslighting people, because now everybody thinks that that's going to happen to them. And the reality is you pick two super responders who are like far out on the bell curve, who just happen to respond great, and you roll them out there as if that's the norm. And it really does a disservice to people, because then then they try what you ask them to try and it doesn't work for them. And then they get disappointed, and then they get frustrated, and then they lose faith in the medical community, or lose interest or their momentum in terms of dealing with their own health. So it just doesn't help to set people up for failure. And I feel like the people who talk about diet alone as a cure for America's weight issue are just setting people up for failure.
We expose even the Hippocrates. I think he said the quote that food is medicine. Yeah, some Greek person.
Actually, I don't know if is that his original quote. I didn't even know.
Well, I'm sure it's paraphrased somewhere. So should we do translations and all that stuff? But yeah, that's essentially what he said. And yeah, man, this is of course someone from way back then.
And all doctors, we all take the Hippocratic Oath, which is, basically first do no harm. But I feel like these people who are pushing food as the cure to all obesity are doing harm, because I think they're hurting patients. I think they're setting people up for failure and setting people up for disappointment. And I think that's just bad for everybody.
Of course. I mean, if it was that simple shit, I would have been the most handsome thing in the world.
But I don't want to show how old I am, but I'm a relatively old guy. And America's first fitness guru was a guy named Jack LaLanne, who people probably don't even know who that is anymore. But that was in the 1950s. And he basically said, eat right and exercise. And that guidance hasn't changed in 75 years. I mean, it's like, if that's all you needed to do, we wouldn't be where we are today. Like, what the heck? Like, Richard Simmons, same thing, the Let's Move campaign with Michelle Obama. Like, it's all the same stuff over. And that, to me, the food is medicine, and actually even sort of RFK and his food policy, it's all just repackaging of the same stuff over and over again. And it's like, how many times do we have to hear the same guidance before we lose faith in it? And frankly, that's where we are today. Like, nobody believes what their doctors tell them anymore. They want to go on the internet and have the pink salt diet or the apple cider vinegar diet or some other thing that I don't even know what it is, the cortisol cleanse or whatever. And these things they're just not evidence-based. But we almost deserve them as a medical community, because we have contributed to the lack of trust by not just basically telling people how it is.
Yeah. I've become far more skeptical and all that, but at the same time, I don't want to my position is they are needed. I do agree I have to build their credibility, give us more, factual evidence base about how to deal with obesity effectively. Obviously we're failing because we stick to the same guidance for 35 years ago. No, things have changed drastically in 35 years. So we stick to the, even like the food pyramid thing, which I'm pretty sure some people just want to toss that out the window. I personally never agreed with it, but am I the type of, I just want to tear it down? No, maybe modify it a bit to make it more honest. I'm more of a modifier instead of an abolisher.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, the reality is like the food is medicine people and RFK, they have valid points. Like, ultra processed food is not probably good for you in most situations, depending on the processing. It's not it's not unilateral. But like so like, yeah, get rid of artificial food dyes. Do they necessarily cause cancer or ADD? Who knows? But who needs them? So get rid of them. Get rid of ultra processed foods because the data do suggest that they contribute to the development of obesity, but not necessarily, but getting rid of them is not going to treat your obesity. So push it that way. Just say, this isn't really going to help you as a person, but this is going to help your kids or the next generation or whatever. So anyway, the problem is just in the fact that, some of the ideas are well grounded in science and really should be incorporated into what we do on the day to day, but don't sell that as obesity treatment, sell that as obesity prevention for the future.
I mean, that came with one question I had about Ozempic. What's the good and the bad and ugly with that thing against the obesity epidemic?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great question. And obviously no one has talked more about a medication than they have when, semaglutide is the generic name. Ozempic is what they call it for diabetes, but then it has even a different name when it's used for obesity, which just goes to sort of show you like, what the heck? Like, why does the drug need two different names? Like, you should just have one name, and like, it's just part of the stigma of weight loss treatment. But so with any intervention, there are pros and cons. And I'm not going to tell you that surgery is perfect, bariatric surgery, and I'm not going to tell you that the GLP-1 agonists, which is what semaglutide and tirzepatide or Wegovy and Zepbound are, but they help a lot of people. And they're too expensive and they're hard to get. And you do have to stay on them basically forever. But people who have high blood pressure stay on their high blood pressure pills forever. So I'm not sure why weight management medications are held to a different standard. You stop taking your statin, your cholesterol is going to go back up. So, of course, if you stop taking your weight loss medication, your weight's going to go back up. But I think a lot of the problems came from, frankly, the people using it who shouldn't have been using it, the social media influencers who were using it just to lose 20, 30 pounds because they wanted to look better on TV or look better on their Instagram page. And then a lot of the bad things happen from the compounded medications or the counterfeit medications, where the regulations are far fewer. And, so people might be getting sick from those. And, the companies that make the real drug would get pissed because, somebody would be on compounded Ozempic and get sick and then say Ozempic's terrible because look what it did to me, but it wasn't actually the real drug. It was the counterfeit drugs. Again, those drugs work, and there are more drugs coming of the same type, and they're actually coming in a pill form, which probably won't be as effective as the injections, but will still be good, and which should bring the cost down. And so I think, again, it's like anything else. There'll be some people who do great with them, some people who don't do great with them. Some people might get side effects, but I try not to condemn any, again, those drugs really work well for a lot of things, and including things that we didn't even think they would work well for, like smoking cessation and migraines and Alzheimer's disease. And so, like you said this, I don't know, maybe you said this before we were recording, like, just be open to learning new things and listening and evaluate the data yourself. But a lot of the data are hard to interpret unless you have a background in it. But just have an open mind and then don't judge others for if they decide to use one of those medications. Like, whatever, they're trying to make their health and life better. Like, why do you care what they're doing to achieve that? Like, why is it even your business, frankly? Like, just let people do their thing.
Oh yeah, I did allude to the open the mind thing. I didn't add the non-judgment part, but it's still great regardless. If anything, you're making this even better. And I don't mind people's addition, make it better. I did talk about we gotta be open, be skeptical, but open, have a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right.
Not, become a cynic. Evan fake, Fauci fake. Some things I think he's still fake. But do I put them? I mean, I've attacked them in my podcast. Especially I start, I did, but I always did consult your doctor, check with 2 or 3 doctors. I never say abolish the medical community because it is a need. It's a net positive that they exist. I just think reform and changes needs to be done. That's my position. I'm not an abolisher. I believe in reform. That's exactly where I stand at.
I hope that, yeah, I mean, I hope that having physicians are a net positive. I'd like to think we're more than just a net positive. I'd like to think the margin is pretty wide, but different people have different views. But that's what I'm out here trying to do, is to give people like a positive view of a doc who just doesn't, I think transparency is a big plus for docs. And I think we're finally realizing that the old school paternalistic, do what I say, and I don't have to explain to you why you need to do what I say. Like, I think that's all gone now, right? So hopefully we're entering a newer era where docs are going to be much more like, just giving you the information and then talking to you about what you're ready for in terms of, let's say, weight management. Are you ready for a medication? Are you ready for surgery? Do you want to try intensive diet and exercise? But where are you at as a person? And that hopefully that leads to the discussion of what's next. So I think that's where we're hopefully going with medicine, but not everybody's there yet.
And I will add this. I mean, once the standardized you already alluded to, so just the command and the commander, parent or child, kind of just do as I say and just shut up and do it. I know what I'm saying. Now it's more, I think it's more either dialogue or even in the negotiations in some cases.
Yeah,
which is interesting. But
right, but obviously, autonomy is like paramount, right? Like, you get to do whatever you want, and if you want to, not address any of your health issues, that's also totally your prerogative. Obviously, as a physician, I don't want you to do that, and I'll try to convince you not to do that, and I'll try to tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, it's your decision, and I can't. We're going to have a much better chance of getting you healthy if you and I can come to some agreement, compromise, working arrangement, whatever you want to call it, so that we're both heading in the right direction. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Or I think, well, more ideally, have a constructive conversation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the most ideal way to go about it. If negotiation, compromise. I mean, you're making some progress. It's like, okay, out of 10 things I tell you to do, well, we do 5, the more easy ones, and then we can get back.
So
it's interesting.
So when
that dynamic.
When I would see, when I would see my weight management patients, I actually picked one thing. I would just say, let's work on one thing today. I'm not even going to give you 5 things to make your health better. I'm going to give you one. And if you do well with one, the next time I see you, we'll add another one. And I think people like that because it's like, all right, he's not asking me to make like a bazillion changes in my life. He's just asking me to, frankly, drink less sugar sweetened beverages. That's what I always started with. If you drink Coke, don't drink Coke anymore. If you drink Gatorade, don't drink Gatorade anymore. Try to drink water, try to drink healthier options. And that in and of itself will cut your sugar intake hugely. And that's a huge win, regardless of whether you lose a pound or not. Drinking less sugar, ingesting less sugar will be a win for almost every patient or person.
I even like that. See, he is making it very simple for you to the point that there's no excuse to get a good outcome. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just want, and if we're not going to get into diet soda because diet soda is probably just as bad as regular soda, if not worse. I did go on TV a couple times explaining to cable news networks that were interested that Trump getting Coke to go to real cane sugar as opposed to high fructose corn syrup will make 0 difference in your health and life. So don't, like, if you drink 4 Cokes, it doesn't matter if it's sugar cane or high fructose corn syrup, you're still going to have sugar issues and weight issues. But it's that kind of like almost gaslighting, right? Like, he's just gaslighting us by saying, oh, it's so much better. Look what I've done for you. And it's like, it makes no medical difference. I actually agree with him that the real cane sugar Coke tastes better. Like, if you go to Mexico and get a Coke, it tastes better than you get a Coke here in the US, which obviously I don't drink much of either anymore. But anyway, it's that kind of gaslighting. Again, it's like, replace soda with a much lower caloric beverage, hopefully a water-based beverage. And I also would always tell patients, I'm not going to, if you drank 4 Cokes a day, I don't expect you to stop cold turkey, but can you get it to 3 or 2? And then we'll go from 2 to 0 or 2 to 1 or whatever. But, yeah, it's a tough, man. I mean, weight management is a tough business for anybody. It's just hard to do. Our bodies, we are not built as humans to lose weight. That is not what our bodies are designed to do. Over centuries, we've been designed to actually gain weight so that we can withstand famine, or if we're walking around and have to kill a lion in order to get a meal, we can do that. So we've just developed as a species to retain weight or put on weight, not to lose it.
Interesting, but that does make sense. It makes complete sense right there. Now let's get to the genetic part, because
it's a segue.
I don't hear enough about this. Does genetics make it easier, or I'm going to mix it up, easier or harder? Does it influence the difficulty of treating obesity?
Oh, so that's a great question, and not exactly where I thought you were going with that. But that is actually maybe even a more salient question, because the short answer is yes. Well, no, because you said, does it make it more difficult? Could you give me a yes or no question? Anyway, it does. It can make, so not only can your genetics predispose you to weight gain and make you have obesity, but it can definitely impact how you respond to the different weight loss interventions. And it's a field that we don't know a ton about yet, but we're learning more day to day, every day. There's a field called epigenetics, which is how the environment modifies your genes, which also play a role. And actually, I read a study recently, which I think is super fascinating, where the investigators showed that actually fat cells in your body can have a memory. They can get changed by epigenetics, and that, you lose weight with the GLP-1 agonist or surgery, whatever. But these cells, because they have these changes in them, they remember you at the higher weight, and they work towards getting you back to that higher weight. And that's why people regain, that may be why some people regain some of their weight after surgery or medications, which again, it's like sort of a whole field that no one even really knew existed 15, 20 years ago. And people still don't really fully understand it. But yes, genetics. So, I treat children, and most children are not even on the earth long enough to have their diet and exercise, quote unquote, cause their obesity, right? I dealt with 8-year-olds with type 2 diabetes, and there's no child who's 8 years old who could eat themselves into type 2 diabetes. That just is not possible. So all the people who like to blame the parents or blame the kids or blame the patients or whatever, you just got to stop, because it's super off base. It's not how it works. But that's to say, it's sort of like the corollary of, if your genes drive you to gain weight early, they also might make it more difficult for you to lose that weight. And I actually published a study that showed that patients who didn't do that well after surgery, those same patients didn't do that well with a GLP-1 agonist. So it's their biology. It's not that they're out drinking smoothies or, opening sugar packets and pouring them down their mouth. It's just their biology, which is their genes and their epigenetics.
I mean, I can agree with that, because some skinny guy could do all these unhealthy things and stay skinny.
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's going to get disease, but not with obesity. It's going to probably be the deal with diabetes, all that other stuff, but it's going to be, I'm not saying he's going to be Superman, all that. He's impervious, which is complete crap, by the way. Right. I'm not going to even imply that. But in terms of metabolism, all that.
Yeah. Well, you see, like they're always like the young, let's say, NFL stars or NBA stars. And they say that they ate like whatever they want. They ate all kinds of crap when they were 20 and getting into the league, or 21 getting in the league. And then they realized after 5 or 6 years that they really had to treat their body better to be to maximize their performance. So it's true. You can be a professional athlete and eat like crap. But the way I like to try to explain it to people, because most people have the same experience. We all know people who eat anything they want and are as skinny as a rail. And we also all know people who barely eat and have a weight issue. And so to try to say it's all about what we eat is so simplistic and honestly, obviously wrong if you just take a look around the world. Like, I would see families where, let's say they had 4 kids and all 4 kids eat the same. They all eat the same dinner table. They all play in the same sports. They all do whatever. And one kid has a weight issue and the other 3 are totally skinny. And the parents would come in and be like, we don't understand this. What's going on? And I would often just say to them, well, okay, which one of your families which one of you, especially if both parents were normal weight or whatever, I'd say, which one of you has a sibling or a parent that has weight issues? Because one of you do. And it just skipped your generation and went to that one poor kid and not the other 3 kids in your family. And always, one of them would be like, oh yeah, obesity does run on my mom's side. My mom's not big, but her sister was big or whatever. There's always a link. You can always find the link. It's never like just a de novo out of nowhere.
Or like mystery, especially those I don't want to take comment. Oh, I don't know where that came from. Right. Certainly not from me, even though it could be from that person, I agree. And I mean, even going into even the 50s, let's just use the 50s, there were big stocky people. But not as common, don't get me wrong, but they did exist.
So again, I like to point out Buddha. I don't remember when Buddha was, but Buddha had a weight issue, clearly, right? Buddha was a big dude. And then, I don't remember the Buddha era, but, and then,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and then in the 17th century, what's his name? Rubens paint these pictures of all these women with weight issues. So there is no doubt that obesity has been around forever and that, yes, it's worse now. And it's certainly impacted by the environment that we have today and the crappy food that's out there and the hyper palatable foods and everything is working against people today who are interested in trying to be healthy and maintain a healthy weight. But it's not like the disease was just invented, 40, 50 years ago. It's been around.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, it's part of humanity, whether we like it or not. I'm going to say about Buddha, but the thing is that statue was like a big, one saying it was a big exaggeration. According to the story, he was as skinny as a rail. He just escaped the castles because, he realized how privileged his life was and he wants to spread good to others. So that statue, believe it or not, that's what I was going to say. So I don't want you to spread.
But there must have been somebody around who they used as the model for those statues. So whether it was Buddha himself or somebody else from that time period, they didn't just come up with, that shape.
Oh, no, of course.
Somebody had that.
I think sometimes it could be symbolic, like, abundance, I don't know. I'm not saying, that's what I've been taught. But it's interesting. It's interesting nonetheless. Am I going to die in a hell for Buddha? Hell no. That's not the most important thing to me. But some of the lore said he was actually.
I had no idea. I might have to look that up. I might have to look up.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll just ask ChatGPT. Was Buddha really struggling with his weight and see what it said?
No, let's see. I mean, I'll take it with a grain of salt or with some of the AI responses. But you're a smart guy. I'm not going to worry about that.
100%. You got to take you got to take everything from AI and the internet with a grain of salt.
No, absolutely. Maybe he did, because sometimes, there's no photography at that time, right? To prove that he was skinny. So that's what I say, wait a minute. We'll see. But it's interesting. If I end up being wrong about Buddha, I'm be fine. I'm not gonna die on that hill. I got bigger things to worry about than Buddha's being either skinny as a rail or as big as a mountain. So that's all I'm gonna say about
Maybe
Buddha.
He was both. Maybe there was more than one Buddha, and he was both.
Or that. I'll forget. Now we're going down the rabbit hole with Buddha. Who would have thought it? If you would have bet this would happen, I'm sure 99% of you
would not.
You would have all lost your money. Yeah,
no one would have predicted that would have been a topic of conversation on this podcast today.
Not even me. Just we didn't prep this to troll you, but believe whatever you want. I could care less. But hey, he's big and all that, so there's a connection. And especially the modern statue. So, it's interesting nonetheless. And we talk about the weird cat thing being a bit obese. Okay. No, let me stop. Now we're going off the rails. Now we go off the rails. Now we go from Buddha to this gotcha cat thing. that's creepy to some. Me, I find it weird, but and then again, I always like creepy stuff, so that's just me. I'm a Tim Burton fan. Also, this work, so yeah, I like the creepy weird stuff.
Everybody has their thing.
Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, enough randomness. That's part of the podcast. Deal with it. I allow it. I'm okay with it. That's the charm. Okay, whether you love it or not, I don't care. Deal with it. You could rant in the comment section. Feel free to use this.
Hey, man, it's your podcast. You make the rules. So if people don't like it, they can go on. Yeah, they're going to go in the comments and complain.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, we will live. We got much worse things to worry about. Now I got a question. Epigenetics is true. I definitely don't know much about epigenetics, but and then the question I have here is even interesting. I think it's even intergenerational, saying that we could pass these traits. I mean, you already alluded to it.
Yep.
To children, and as you know, me as my mom's side of the family tends to be bigger. You know, my father's side got obese people, but just not as much. And some of them are lazy. They don't move that much. But some got just a little pot belly. That's most they've gotten, and some is just look like they could give birth to quadruplets. That's how big the belly looks. Okay, it's a bit nasty to you. I don't care. This is an adult podcast. Ironically, parents, you decide. You know, you could censor the filth and just give this information to the kids. Okay, use your judgment. Don't blame me if you just transfer everything. Use your God-given brain to pick what you think is good for your child. You could filter out maybe even 35%. Just take maybe all of Evan's parts. I'm fine with it. All right. So, I'm not gonna even ask that because you actually did answer that question. I passed it down to you.
No, I think you brought.
Unless you want to elaborate. But
no, I wanted because you did. There is. So I'm not sure if I made this clear or not, but you can not only pass on your genes from your parents to you, and then those genes have maybe increase your risk of developing a weight issue. But even the modified genes, even the epigenetically modified genes, you can pass from parent to child. So, and then there are things that can happen while the child's developing inside of the mom that make obesity more likely. And even recently, there was a publication about the in utero environment making autism more likely, which I think is super interesting. And so like people sometimes ask me, what would be if I could had a magic wand and could sort of put together the perfect recipe for fixing the obesity epidemic. A large part of what I would recommend is getting people healthier before they have babies, and not just the mom, the dad too. And that's because it makes it less likely to pass on the epigenetic, modified genes to your baby. It makes the in utero environment better as well. But then once that baby's born, the behavior that you're modeling as the mom and dad is also better. So I think that there's something called the intergenerational transmission of obesity, which is really not emphasized enough. And again, it's not like me blaming parents because I don't do blame. It's not my thing. But I can tell you that there are data that suggests that if you get yourself healthier before you decide to have a baby, that is better for your child or your future child. And that's just the way it is. I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm not saying it to stigmatize anybody. I'm just saying that this is what the data show. And so, if you want to do something, that's what I would recommend you do. Get yourself healthier before you have the baby.
I mean, that's a rational response. And trust me, he put the dads to this too. So feminists, I don't want to hear your complaint. Yeah. If you you're just choosing to, do selective hearing just to feed your victim narrative.
Yeah.
He got after the dads as well. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, because if I don't, honestly, people would accuse me of being, blaming the moms, and I'm not blaming the moms. Obesity in general is always a family affair. It runs in families. You can't treat one family member and have other family members not supporting it. It's always, especially in childhood obesity, it's always parents got to change their behavior, kids got to change their behavior, but it's all going to also be part of getting a medication or surgery, whatever else you need. But it's harder. It's harder for those interventions, the medications or surgery, to work if the kid still comes home to a household where there's bad food everywhere. So it's always a family affair.
Yeah, but you point out something which is very environmental. The access to bad food. I mean, it does take a genius to figure this out, but
Yeah.
that's all you got. That's all people's going to
Right.
consume,
And
especially with the
so,
Door Dashes, the Uber
yeah.
Eats, make that easier than ever. Well,
Yeah.
you're
So,
gaining fat, but you're making the wallet skinnier, both digitally and
yeah.
physically
Well,
too.
and
You
again,
know,
another political topic that I often talk about is that, like, um, I get asked whether removing sugar sweetened beverages from SNAP is going to make a difference for people's health. And the short answer is sure. Like, if you can't use SNAP to buy soda, that's probably a good thing. Like, it's probably not going to change things dramatically, but it's probably okay. But what's really more important is if you could get people on SNAP to have access to healthy food at an affordable price, that's an intervention that could work. But don't tell people who are on SNAP that they need to go to the farmer's market and spend, what was it? Benny Blanco was just spent $100 on a bushel of blueberries or something like that. Like, don't tell these people that. Don't tell them that they just need to eat better. You got to give them a way to eat better. You got to either make it cheaper, bring it to their local where they live. Like, it's just not like, again, just unilaterally taking sugar sweetened beverages off of SNAP is not going to do a lot. And it's really just sort of one very small part of one side of the equation, where the other side of the equation is much more important, which is affordable food. Because if ultra processed food is all you can afford, then that's all you're going to buy.
but I've talked to people in the past, even before I have this podcast. I think it'd be a nice intervention if they have affordable, healthy food. Even SNAP could even, cover those. I mean, I didn't say exactly like that, but I like how you propose it. It definitely covers a little more the nuances and the finer details. I'm not able to articulate as well, but you know what? I agree with it, because
Right.
it's an extension of what I would support.
Right.
You
And
know,
that's sort of that's where the food is medicine people are important and are correct in that, like, because they're really all about getting healthy foods to everybody equitably and early and all those things. And so, again, I support a lot of what they're doing, and I support what the lifestyle medicine doctors are doing. I just don't support the gaslighting of saying it's going to fix everyone, because it's not going to fix everyone. It's going to help prevent the next generation of health problems, maybe, but it ain't fixing the people who are already suffering from the disease.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very complicated issue. I mean, I don't feel as bad now because I was blaming mostly me for that. So
Yeah.
that's a good impact right there.
But
But at the same time, I'm not gonna, just eat like a glutton and just be careless either. I don't want to
right.
apply that either.
Right. And there's a
Um,
fine line between accountability, which is a word you used earlier, and blame, right? And society blames people for their weight, which is not appropriate, and shames them for their weight, which is not appropriate. Now, should people be accountable if they're not doing the things that they could do to make themselves healthier? Yeah, that's what the doctors are for. We're supposed to tell you, okay, listen, you really got to stop smoking, or you really got to stop drinking, or whatever you're doing. But what's even worse than the societal blame is the self blame and the self shame and the self loathing, because then you get into the whole mental health world, and it's, people with weight issues have a much higher likelihood of developing mental health issues. And then also people with mental health issues have a much higher likelihood of developing obesity. So it's like a bi-directional badness, for lack of a better word. We'll just call it bi-directional badness. And so mental health is super important and underemphasized.
I want to say coin it, even copyright it. Especially when you do your,
So we had t-shirt, bi-directional
yeah.
badness. I don't know.
No, I like that. I mean, it has a hook to it. It sounds cool. EB,
EDB, bi-directional badness.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's even better. That I was gonna say that's pretty similar to one of the reality TV shows, they BB. No, but that even differentiates it. So I like that. I like that. So I hope you really listen to at least the educational part. I don't mind having fun and jokes and all that, but make sure you're getting the educational part, the enlightening part, because it's not all your fault. It's good you're accountable and all that, but you can take it as a learning experience. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit of everything. Maybe it's a little bit of exercise, weight, knowing how your genetics work. Maybe it's it's a complicated equation. I don't think we have
Oh,
quite figured it out.
yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
complicated. And the thing is, I joke not only on podcasts, but I actually do a lot of joking when I see patients in my office because it's a topic that really no one wants to talk about. And it's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. You know, a lot of them, by the time they've come to my office, have already been shamed by the medical community as well. Not only by the society, sometimes their own families, but the medical community piles on. So I try early to break the ice and just be like, listen, man, you know, this is where we're at. Let's just work together to get you in a better place. And, you know, I might tell some bad dad jokes. I might, you know, I don't know. I just try to, you know, with the teenagers, my own kids used to give me, you know, they would tell me whatever the common term of the day was. And I might say to a kid, and this term is old now, but I might say, you know, obesity is not your fault. You know, it has a lot to do with the genetics your parents passed on to you. And then I'll pause and I'll go, no cap. And then the kid will be like, what does this, you know, middle-aged white guy know about no cap? And like, it just breaks the ice. And then like, they're like, okay, this guy's like, he's just a regular guy who just happens to be a doctor and talking about this. But beneath it all, he's just a regular guy from New Jersey who's just trying to help me out. They don't know the New Jersey part, but, they usually figure that out later.
Yeah, no, we gotta show off on that, but that's a whole nother thing. You know, I could go off the rails with that, but no. Well, you mentioned something that's important: the way you communicate, the frame of communication. If you have to use those cringe Gen Z, Gen Alpha slangs to get it through, you know, there's a method of madness to it. Even I would cringe as a millennial. And look, I'm stuck at pawn skippity. You kids could keep that slang. That's
Skibbity just got
me.
added to the Webster's dictionary
Which
as a real word.
That triggered me. Oh, what is wrong with you people? You just, you know, you're just might as well put smeared crap stains in your book at that point. That's don't even. That's bad for my mental health. Okay, no, I'm kidding. No, I'm just triggered. No, it did trigger. It really did trigger me. They'll use the cool terms now. But, you know, skipping. Yeah, all those words have been added. Riz. It's like, no, you create a separate dictionary, the Urban Dictionary. I will be perfectly okay with it.
That's another word I used to like. Again, I would joke with the patients.
Oh God!
You know, if I was saying something, you know, and I saw that they were whatever sad or tuning out, I might say something like, you know, listen to what I say. I know I've got Riz, but I'm actually, you know, a guy who's done a lot of science on this topic or whatever. I probably wasn't even using the terms right, but the fact that I just was using them was just enough to make these kids, you know, crack a smile and sort of come out of their shell a little bit.
Yeah, I got the receipts. That's another thing you can add in there. That's proof, documents, all of that other stuff.
The new one is 6'7", which I'm trying to. I don't know if you know about the 6'7" thing, but you probably do. And I'm just trying to figure it out.
I don't. I'll be honest. No, I don't. I'm just shocked. What the freak?
There's a whole thing right now. My 14-year-old niece was teaching me about 6'7". I'm like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense. But okay.
I mean, like mid doesn't make sense. That's technically bad. Like, but whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. To me, I guess I got much bigger fish to fry. Like what's going on in this country than just some kid lingo. I mean, I used to go along with that lingo when I was a millennial. You know, like FTW, all that other stuff. Oh, oh man, you got so much L's. When you gonna get better? You know. All of that, but okay, all right. Let me stop. I'm aging myself just a little bit. You know, I barely got accustomed to that slang. Okay, that's good for the social and the mental part. That's the main point of all that.
The main point of it is like, again, you want to, you know, it's nice to be able to form a relationship with your caregiver, doctor, whatever, and obviously it builds trust. And then, as you sort of talked about before, it means you can have a conversation about whatever it is you think might be the right intervention or whatever. And then the kid and the family are more likely to, you know, accept what you're saying because you've shown that you're a human and that you have a human side and that you actually want to care about them and relate to them and all that. So sounds a little bit sappy, but that's the reality.
Yeah, don't be the doctor one from Family Guy. Oh, that's the worst one. He's like the most careless, happy one. Oh, I just lost a lung. He's like, what? No, don't be that, okay? And actually, and just attack the influencer medical, quote, medical people. quotes, I'm trying to be nice here. I want to curse really bad and show my real New Yorkness to this. I won't take them very seriously either. I don't care. Yeah, he's sort of New York. He wasn't born there. I'll take his native New York cred away easily. Okay. But I can't do that. Once he's been there 5 years, it's like, okay, you're a native New Yorker, even though you're not born there, but whatever. But I'm attacking because I don't even trust him. As much. He got some good facts? Of course he does. But like I said, I would say take it fact by fact by fact. Don't just say, oh, he's all good, he's all bad. Kind of do like your test score. Okay, he was 60% good in this video. That other video, he was 80% good. The other one, he was 20%. Oof. No, I'm not gonna watch that one again. Yeah, I would say put more nuance into it. And if not, trust someone who is credible, who is an expert in that field. I always say consult with your doctors, have a second or third opinion. That's always been my general advice. I don't care, they're pediatrician, adult doctor, all that to me, all that applies.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Just be your own advocate, be your own researcher, as well, and make sure there's documentation and things that could back up what you're saying. So just say vaccines cause autism. If you believe that, and actually certain celebrities believe that. Robert De Niro is one of them. I like him as an actor, but I'm definitely not trusting him with medical advice. I said just stick to acting. Stay in your lane, bro.
Well, again, like getting back to the politics during the.
Oh yeah, Robert F. Kennedy. What you going to allude to?
Yeah.
How the heck is he impacting health? He's for the good or bad, or he's in between? Yeah. I mean, you just provide your overall opinion.
Well, like during his confirmation hearings, where the senator from Louisiana, Senator Cassidy, basically said there are, all these medical studies that show that vaccines don't cause autism. Can you tell me that you won't attack vaccines if you get confirmed to the HHS secretary? And of course, RFK said, of course I can tell you that. And then a whole bait and switch later, he's just doing whatever he wanted to do anyway. And I'm sure Cassidy is like, what the heck? Why did I fell for that. But again, RFK, like when RFK started, I was optimistic that he could focus on his food stuff and just not mess with the vaccines, or at least try to be somewhat more neutral towards the vaccines. And I really thought he might want to do that, because I think that's actually the politically most, that would be the political thing to do. Stick to things that people agree on, stay away from the things that people don't agree on. But he couldn't help himself, or maybe he had to appeal to his base or whatever. So now he's gone off the rails. And yes, I support much of the food stuff, not all of it, but much of the food stuff he talks about, some of it. And that's where you're sort of what you're talking about. Like, you have to go through all the individual things that he talks about, whether it be food or vaccines, because he throws some misinformation in there. He'll like say 5 things that are true, and then the 6th thing will be completely off base. So if you just accept everything he says, you're going to be misled from time to time. Although on the vaccine side, it's the opposite. He basically says 5 things that are untrue, but then he does come up with like the one thing that's, that's truer, that Operation Warp Speed was Operation Warp Speed, and it went really quickly. And there were people who did have reactions to the vaccines, and we know that. And like every medicine or intervention, there are people who get complications from them, but that's not the issue. The issue is, did the good outweigh the bad? And if there were issues, just fix the issues. Don't like abandon the technology or don't abandon the vaccine. Just work to make it better. Like, why would we throw out something that actually saved thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions of lives worldwide? Why would we throw it out just because a couple people, and I don't want to minimize it, but even if, let's say, some number, 5% of people had a complication, if 95% of people didn't and they got a benefit from it, like, why are we tossing it out? Like, why throw out the baby with the bathwater, or whatever that saying is supposed to mean? But anyway, yeah. So in general, I had higher hopes for RFK than he's now he's regressing to like the conspiracy theorist he was before he got appointed.
That's sad, ain't it? And I'm sure Bill Cassidy's probably smacking himself every night for confirming him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to attack Bill. He's one of the few Republicans I actually respect, because he does. He is, he does. I think, like research background. I'm not gonna get to details of it, and he knows his stuff, and he's even respected to be invited to big health conferences. However, the fact that he confirmed RFK just because he said, "Oh, you got my word," I would have still voted no because that don't mean anything. And basically, I go by the track record, which many Senate tend. They tend to do that, but they always got their own political filters and narratives they try to push, both Democrats and Republicans. But I'm not going to get too much on into that. But I'm just going to for the zero in on Bill Cassidy because he's the one with the science background.
Well, and
he could have voted no, but
right. And he today or yesterday, when the new FDA approval for the new COVID vaccine came out, and it had all these restrictions, and he actually has now basically said that the CDC and the ACIP, which is the panel that reviews and makes the vaccine recommendations, he's called for them not to meet because of RFK replacing all the members of that committee with people who don't have a scientific background. And when I heard this news, all I could think of is, dude, you had a chance to prevent all this and you didn't. And now you're like going to complain and say stuff like, man, this is the bed you made. So like, don't come now and try to be all like, oh, this is terrible, this and that. It's like anybody, politicians are not, what's the right word? I don't want to bash them all as a group, but they're just generally mostly concerned with their own success, electability, etc. And they will say anything or do anything to make it happen. So like, of course, RFK said, don't worry, Senator Cassidy, you have my word. And of course he went back on his word because that's what we expect from politicians today. None of them keep their word. Neither side. They all change their opinion on everything for whatever's most politically expedient. So.
Yep, that's absolutely right. I'm not going to argue with that because you could trust me. That's going to be another 5-hour podcast about how both sides went back on their word on many, many things. But a lot of you know that anyways, and I'm not going to.
And it's okay.
It's like being a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, it's okay to change your opinion, but don't deny that you had the other opinion at one point. You know what I mean? Like, just don't go back on your word. Just say, I've reviewed the data or whatever has been happening in today, and I changed my opinion. I no longer think that whatever. Take your pick of topics. I no longer think that Israel going into Gaza is a good idea. Now I'm against it or whatever. Like, just don't say I never said that Israel should go into Gaza. Like, anyway, I am a bit cynical when it comes to politicians. I have to say.
Look, I understand completely. I'm not gonna bash you for it. I get it because they had this opinion and they do a 180 and look, hint, the other one that's now VP. JD Vance, another master. Oh, Trump was a con man and all that. All of a sudden, I was, But hey, this episode here, ironically, I've kind of leaned to the left a little bit. It's just no Democrats are getting bashed here because I disagree.
None of them are in power.
Right. So that's a perk of not being in power. You could get away with this, Dems, because I have bashed when Biden was in power. I've bashed him, and believe me, on different things. I'm an independent at the end of the day, and I'm proud of it. And I'm not going to change that at this point. Because this is for someone who was a former moderate Democrat, former moderate Republican. So yeah, both crazy. I'm just an eye at this point. But enough about me. Any shameless plugging you want to do before we wrap this up? This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. No, I mean, I think I have both a YouTube channel and a website called Obesity Explained, and both of them have lots of information on them. The YouTube videos, I think they're 170 or something like that, shorts and full-length videos and podcasts, and lots of topics that we covered today, lots of topics we didn't cover today. And it's really, I'm not monetizing my YouTube channel. It's just there for people to learn stuff. So if I'm going to plug anything, I'll plug that or my website. I really just trying to change the narrative about the disease and, just hoping that the more I talk about it and the more I just present the facts and present the science, that maybe we'll change some opinions along the way. And at the end of the day, we got 140 million adults with obesity. and 15 million children with obesity. And that is basically should be a crisis or a call for a crisis and something drastic to be changed. And we just, for some reason, well, for the bias and stigma reason, we are unwilling to go there. So I'm trying to be the guy who, I'm not ringing the alarm bell, but I am trying to just tell people, listen, man, this is a huge problem, and it's a huge problem for our economy. It's a huge problem for everything, for people's well-being, for people's health, for people's happiness, for the next generation of kids. And we still keep going back to the same old, which is just, mind-blowing for me personally.
It's all about this with the artificial food companies, the big pharmas. Yeah, that's most conspiratorial I'm going to get. Blame me and big pharma and all that.
Yeah. So there are those conspiracy theorists who think that big pharma and big food are in this together. And I mean, maybe they are. And if they are, then they've got us all then we're all posed because, the lobbyists and the money and all that stuff. It's but I'm going to choose not to believe that. I'm going to choose to believe that while both of those groups want to make money, that they're not in cahoots. But I could be wrong, and then I'll be sad.
I just want to dissent and say I think they're in cahoots. They want us to believe they're in cahoots. I mean, Food and Drug Administration is one thing I could point to. I mean, who the heck with their right mind would put it together? But that's just that's just me. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be. I'm not gonna die. That's another one I'm not gonna die in the hill. I die in the hill for trying to fight for this country to stay united. Maybe that's just I'll die in that hill, but not about the FDR. Look, if I end up being wrong, I'll live. I'm freaking human. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I think
I could just tell them forget about it. Just forget about it. I'm kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, again, I think maybe I'm naive, but I choose not to believe they're in cahoots, because if they're in cahoots, then like I said, then there's no chance. There's no chance that we can fix things. And I don't want to believe that there's no chance we can fix things. So maybe I got blinders on, but I'm going to believe that they're not in cahoots.
Ironically, I believe there is hope, even despite they're united. It's just, we gotta change. We just gotta do so much changes from, I don't know, it's going to be from bottom up. I mean, I think that's probably from bottom up. And then even some business going to realize, they're not falling for this junk stuff. We are forced to change our ways. Maybe something like that could happen. But despite I think they're in cahoots, I still think there is hope. Maybe I'm crazy. Feel free, to express that.
Well, I do think, I mean, I could go on about this topic forever, but I do think the GLP-1 medications have actually really negatively impacted a lot of the big food companies, because a lot of things that they were selling, they're not selling anymore. So they're going to have to, a lot of the companies are rethinking about what they're selling, which is a good thing too. But,
I believe change is possible, even they're united.
I think is the take-home message for everybody should be that there's change is possible. There's hope. I think, as you said, it's got to be, people have to lead it. It's not coming from the HHS, the secretary of the HHS, Surgeon General, anybody in the governmental level. And frankly, that's not just with this particular administration. That's with every administration. So the real question in my mind has always been what is the movement going to take, or what is it going to look like? How do you organize people to push for better health in America?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a very good question to have. Don't forget, that's an excellent question to have. Yeah. What is that success going to look like? When change is possible. Yeah, that's a very good question to have.
And I think sometimes we don't even know what it's going to look like until it's there, right? You don't even know that the movement is happening, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, things are changing because, whatever. Yeah. Like random here's another random political sort of topic, but Arab Spring, did the dude who set himself on fire think that he was going to be the catalyst for Arab Spring? Who would have predicted that? I don't think anybody. But
that's certain way. I would just thought he was a nut. But hey, that's just my honest opinion. But hey, it's true that you never know. You just
sparked the movement. Sparked a movement.
Humans are not the most logical people, and I always forget that. Yeah, I always forget that. Yeah.
No, it's why, and we also don't like complicated problems like obesity. We like black and white problems, and like we like to be able to say, "Here's the solution. This is the one solution. This is all you need to do: eat less and
Yeah.
exercise more."
That's why we judge, because it's easy. Eli is
Right.
bad, Evan good, or vice versa.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
Well, you're stupid, people, if you're gonna
Right.
think like that.
And
I'm just gonna be
politics,
honest.
same thing in
Yeah. Ugh.
politics.
Oh
Right is
yeah.
good, left is bad. Left is good, right is bad. No, it's like they're people on, I don't want to say on both sides because that has a negative connotation these days. But anyway, the point is that keep an open mind, keep learning, be inquisitive, challenge things you don't necessarily agree with, but don't challenge them to the point where it's argumentative or confrontational. Learn new things. Science is always evolving. The science of yesterday doesn't even necessarily mean that the science of today may contradict the science of yesterday, but that's not because the science of yesterday was necessarily quote unquote wrong. It's just that we didn't know as much. So it's like the world is ever evolving and the science is ever evolving, and keep an open mind. Learn.
Absolutely. That's a great time. And now that's a great time to wrap this up. I hope you were listening to all this, because it's just some valuable stuff here. Some wisdom, some tidbits, sprinkle in this episode. I really hope you was listening. This is me wearing my serious hat. Now I'm gonna wear my capitalist hat, my shameless plug-in. Definitely monetize this YouTube for sure. I'm not as pro bono or as noble here, but I don't care. I'm a capitalist, yes. So I'm anti-socialist in that one. But I don't mind some socialist policies that help people. That's the funny part. I'm willing to compromise on that, But if it helps a lot of poor people, so be it. I'm not that far right capitalist that everything has to be privatized and all that. No, there's cases where privatization has done bad, but tease episode, I don't know. I'll think about it. I don't make promises that I can't keep. Alrighty then. So before I get to my selfish plugin, I'm gonna link all that below: his website, his Instagram, LinkedIn, and the YouTube channel. Because give him some love, William. He's here,
Give me some love.
challenging the norms of obesity.
Yeah. And if you and feel free to, I'm definitely one of those, what is it? There's no such thing as bad publicity. It's the same thing. Like if you put comments on my videos or whatever that you don't like stuff, that's awesome. It means you actually watched it. So have at it. Do your worst. I'm a big boy. I can handle it.
Well, maybe that hate is a secret admirer. Anyway, oh yeah, there you go. I went there, but anyways, hey, even the haters I watch, that's still eyeballs, that's still attention, and you can unintentionally spread the good news, believe it or not. Oh, look at this schmuck spreading this thing, but the one person agrees it is a chain wheel. Hey,
exactly.
You never know. That's what I'm going to say about that. Yep. All right, now for my podcast, comment, subscribe. If you want to subscribe, click the all notification bell if you don't want to miss a single update. And for those who want to donate, got some greens. It starts at $3 a month. You get your own emotes, you get a shout out, and you're going to start getting some exclusive episodes. And you think I'm nutty here. I'm going to be so nutty and crazy. You're going to think I'm crazier than even Alex Jones. I'm just saying that's probably not an exaggeration. Or you'll be the judge. That's fair. You be the judge of that. But I will talk about stuff that is taboo, and it'll be more uncensored. You get to know about me more personally. And for the Apple Podcast portion, those only reviews I read. Leave an honest review. Give your thoughtful review, like I think this episode great because of ABC, or this episode sucks because of ABC. Not just I'm great or I suck. That doesn't help. Just put some thoughts to the review. Those are the only ones I am paying attention to. All right. And I got congratulate this channel for reaching 100 subscribers and still growing. Let's try to reach 500 and maybe hit 1,000, maybe 10,000. May sound crazy now, but you never know. I didn't think I was gonna have over 1,000 people listen to me, so and this is not, of course, one platform. I like it all on YouTube, but it's all spread out, and that's great. I didn't expect that much, so I thank you. I generally think I know I bash you. I'm like this tough joker in a sense. I'm feisty. I'm sometimes comical. Sometimes I'm Wise, all these crazy characters, but I actually really do appreciate your support. Even the haters, yes, even you, the haters, because you make things interesting, believe it or not. You're entertaining, believe it. Have you thought of comedy? Have you thought of getting entertainment industry? You might do well, or maybe not. It's okay. You're afraid. That means you got some wisdom there, but really, it's up to you. So, whenever you complete this visual audio journey, have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.